What's going on, traders? So it's been an exciting few weeks. I think it's like 7 of them to be exact. The downtrend we currently in. I think if you count the candles, going back to, I mean, really, you could count this one 7, 8 weeks, going back from March 28th, April 4th. This whole month and a half of downside selling. If you was paying attention, keeping informed by this channel, then you wasn't surprised. I mean, we pretty much covered it from the top all the way down here, and this is where we are now. So where do we go going forward? In my opinion, thinking, we about to head down to the, at least at a minimum, to the 9.7 region. Um, I do feel like this is going to continue this sell off. We do have some brief weekly support, and it's pretty close. It's at 11,350, so about 500 handles away from where we are now. Um, how do I plan to trade this? I think it could be best seen on a 12-hour chart right here. So, going into this Sunday night, Sunday evening trading into Monday morning, these next two 12-hour candles. What I would like to see, um, I would like to see a small pop, get back to the last 12-hour highs. By no means is getting to this going to negate the lows, lower highs on the weekly chart. That's just getting a little bit above the midpoint of the candle. So, um, on that 12-hour mark right there, yeah, I feel like we could get up into there, and that would give us, a liquidity grab to go ahead and reach lower. Um, we do have, like I say, this support. It's the same as on the weekly chart. This will be. I'll put an alarm here too, because when we get to that area, we will want to know. Um, you'll want to be mindful of this area. It's weekly and 12-hour support. So, we might hit it, then bounce. The way I see it playing out would be, Monday and Tuesday, probably be some up days as we kind of gradually go up and, level out on Wednesday. But, mid to back half of the week, we hadn't seen a capitulation candle. I expect to see that going into why. Why should we see such price action? Um, I had it on another chart. I think if I look at my other layouts, I could bring it up. If I look at my dollar charts on my other layouts, the ones that I use when I actually trade, let's look at the dollar. So yeah, you could see it right here. We have this. It's just a midterm um trend line right here, but it coincides with where I think, we will find support after breaking out of this parabolic trend. We have resistance with this white line. I would like for the dollar to go and come down here before going higher. Now it could, in all actuality, just go higher. Why I don't feel like it'll do that is because we have a crossover right here. You can see on the hourly. It hasn't happened, so we could go into, you really you can't go with what you want to happen. You have to play it as you see it, and a part of playing it how I see it is just thinking about all the outcomes that could happen. Now, for me, the most probable is to continue this small time frame downtrend and find resistance down here. Um, but that said, you can't really expect that until you you have a you when it that wouldn't come into an effect until about like right here. If this area right here is broken, so I would put like a little small alarm there, like that if this trend line breaks, then I would expect the dollar to go ahead and precipitate out, meaning that equities would go higher. And I would expect the dollar to find resistance here, meaning that that would be a short-term top on equities as the dollar went higher and equities went lower. Equities going higher in the short term would bring me up here to this area. Let me go back to my other one because I know it's a lot going on that chart, but the same could be seen on this chart as well, but I could just draw it live. So we do have this resistance right here. Where is it? Sorry. So we have this resistance right here. If you just summed up all those points, you'd get something like that. You could probably draw it a bunch of different ways. But basically this area is where you want to be mindful of. This is where if you were going to throw on some shorts, you would want to throw them on as close as you could to this trend line as possible with the stop, you know, um somewhat like right inside of these lows because that would be resistance. This would be a decent resistance area, um right up in here. So this would be like your stop. You would want to, if possible, get a short in above that line, have a stop above this, and that's where you would look for your. But as you can see, getting above this line. So I would start entering into a position, at least get a half a position on here and another half on up here, and close out the position if it gets up there. But you're looking for that to go ahead and precipitate lower as the dollar find that support that we were speaking of earlier. But and I say all that with though you got to keep everything in context. It's no longer a question of what market conditions we're in. I mean, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven red weeklies. Um, I don't I don't think you'll find that on a weekly time frame. Let's see how far back we have to go. There's four. There's four. There's four. There's four. There's four. So, but I'm not seeing really typically more than four. So you could argue that we're oversold. How many do we have here? Six. Seven, that you could call it seven, but it's separated by one. So we could get like something like a doji today. I mean next week, and that's why I say if you're gonna, this is not the time to be what do we have here? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So something like back in 2011. You have to go way back to 2011 to find seven in a row. You don't see an eighth for sure, right? That's just something to keep in mind that you know, starting a short position here may be ill-advised. You want it to get short up there. Um, you could argue that you could find a loan down here and maybe get, this could be a multi-week increase. And that's why I say this trade that I'm thinking of putting on, I want to get it as close to this resistance as possible. If it doesn't get right now, I'm not positioned in the market at all. So I trade on my mobile phone. I'm not in any position right now. That's where I was going with that. Just speaking on how my own trading is going, and I plan on, if I don't get that pop, I like positions that I could hold, multiple days, 2 3 days, maybe a week or two. Entering in a short here, I would be sketched out about, if it chopped around in this area, we could put in a doji and just chop around in this area for the next 5 trading days, right? And then on like the 26th or the 27th, hit this and go lower. If you enter in a position here, I mean, all of that you would want to enter it in close as you could to the line. That way, if it broke it, to get out. But if it chops around, you'd always be chopping around in profit. Going in and out of profit and loss is, what puts the trader on tilt, right? Because you get to those, you get mentally drained, mentally stressed out, and it just becomes more, mental labor um to watch that position. What I'm trying to go to here is just Yahoo Finance. If we could just pull up, I would look at it on my trading software, but I care not to. I, so looking at options on the QQQ. Now, if I was gonna trade this intraday, I would probably use these front month contracts. Can I decrease the amount of options that we show on here? Because I don't need all of these, but you know, this is front month. I really want to look at, like, say some June. What's the last week in June? I think the 21st. So, like, for if you felt this was gonna go lower, like $1,000 right there will buy you in the closest out of the money. If this went up to this area right here, if it went straight up from here, that would put you back to prices right here. And on the QQQ, that would translate to about the 309. So you would want 309 contracts, right? Way down here. What 309 would be at the money, right? Um how far away is 309 from where we are now? That's about $30. So if you got in at 309 and it came all the way back to where it is now, $30 up, this would be like up here somewhere. You'd be looking at like 4 racks off of 1 rack, right? So that's a 400% increase, like anywhere between 3 and 4 racks. That's what you would want to look for. Um, and that's if we retraced up to here and you got in here and it just came back to where it is. But that's not what I think will happen, right? Like, I think it'll retrace up to here, get back to where it is, and continue lower. So for about $1,000 a contract, you could potentially make, if you wait on the trade, don't rush it, you could potentially turn $1,000 into like eight in a matter of 30 to 45 days, right? Depending on, how far out you wanted to wait on that trade to develop. And see, right now the market just opened, and like I was saying, you know, I think we're gonna go higher. I think this dollar is gonna go lower. You're seeing it happen as we speak in weekend session trading. So when Monday morning, when the market's open, hopefully, everybody's in good spirits, and we're on our way up here, and the Nasdaq, Dow, and S&P are sky high, and everybody's feeling bullish again. That is exactly when I will be throwing on that short trade I just told you about, right? Um, and I'll be turning it off quick. Now I'll go a little bit harder than 1,000. I'll probably put probably about five of those contracts in. I'm going for broke, right? It won't break me, but you know, if when I have conviction about this and I have a stop, right? Like I won't sit there and let my money, dwindle down to nothing. But as long as I get in as close as to this line as possible, right? Like something like this or back here, as long as I could get in around QQQ when QQQ reaches 309 and I buy that closest out of the money contract when it gets there, and I at least have about a month of time on my options expiry, um, then those are the parameters I'm looking for a decent trade, and I'll go in strong, right? And we'll just be able to sit back and watch the money come in. Now that'll be a hard thing to do, right? That's not easy because the market will look bullish at that time. I won't deny that it will look bullish at that time, but shorting right here, thinking it's going to continue lower, um, on a multi-week sell-off, when just statistically it doesn't happen like that. Even on extended down moves, you have these few green candles in the middle, right? We have none for the last 7 weeks, right? So, you just want to be mindful of that. We do have a little support right here. You want to be mindful of that. It'd be much better to see a green doji right here, maybe even the next week after that green, and 3 weeks from now we continue lower, right? Um, that's something to be mindful of. That's what you, but you don't want to break these highs right here, like so. Where oh, I'm on a QQQ. You don't want to break these highs right there. You want to stay inside of this candle, last week's candle, right? Below this blue line. That's where your target should be for a decent trade. So that's how I'm trading. We could look at some more equities. You got Bitcoin. I still feel like it's selling off going to 15K, but any crypto trader knows that shorting Bitcoin or just trading it on a day trading basis could be a bit hazardous for your mental health, because even if it's going down there, it'll spike up on a 1 minute and then go down. So that's when I trade, high leverage margin, whatever, short and whatever, that's a hard thing to do. So I usually get in and out when I trade Bitcoin. The euro, let's see what the euro's doing. So on a weekly basis, it's looking bullish, right? And it should be, because the dollar should be going down. There's a little gap to fill on the euro right there. I see. That will probably happen soon. That gap won't stay on that chart like that. Um, so where are we? We got Amazon. Amazon has been selling off nicely since that crossover. Remember that crossover a few weeks ago? Um, Back here, and I was like, before earnings, Amazon's about to go to 19. It's gonna get there. Give it some time. It still has a little bit further to go. It found some support. Let it happen. It could come up here before going lower, because it may go a lot lower than 19. Astra. This is a spec stock, a speculative stock that I just love. I bought it up here. I took a small loss, got out, and it bled on out. If that Astra gets to $1, I might buy 1,000 shares of it. Just because them exploring space. There's a lot of money out there. That's something for another video. You got Booking.com. How is COVID doing? How is everybody doing? Are we gonna be traveling? Let's see what the stock says. So it's pretty much neutral. It filled that gap back there. It has no crossovers on the deck. Well, I take that back. This blue has been crossed over from some time. Um, I wouldn't want to buy it until it got to 1,000. To be honest, we might get another COVID scare, or just, bear market sentiment, a slowing growth, GDP numbers dropping, anything like that, booking gets down to 1,000, that's where I'd buy it. I'll mark it right here, somewhere up in there in the future. This is where you'd want to buy booking if it ever got there. Um, what else do we have over here that I could cover quickly? Ethereum, Dow Jones, Litecoin, a bunch of crypto stuff. Nvidia, I don't think I ever said. Okay, so I had this line back here in the past, this support. We just got below it on the daily chart where we're at resistance. Ooh, Nvidia's not looking good. And if crypto dropped off like Bitcoin should, and you know, economic activity slowed, if you ever saw Nvidia at the, below 75, buy it. Um, where are we with Tesla now? Tesla. Now I said that, and you'd have to go back to my chart back here. Where is it? I thought I had it. But the one where you, and you should remember it if you watch these videos. If not, you could go back and look at them. But I basically said that Tesla would stay range bound into this area right here, into this area pretty much. Um, and so it would bounce around in here, and you wouldn't expect to see anything until mid second half of 2023. Now, I said that when it was up here, and now it's down there, or down where it is, and it's breaking below the line that I expected to be support. With that being said, if you see Tesla below 250, make sure you buy it anywhere in here. Okay. If this line breaks, Tesla will just bleed out to this area. These around here, around yeah, 250. That'd be a generational buy. You wouldn't have to work again. It'd be hard to buy it down there. I'm not sure what kind of stories you'd be hearing about Elon Musk, Tesla, and his vehicles. But that's when you buy, right? Nobody's expecting it to get there, but if this line breaks, that's exactly where it's going. What else do we have? Exxon Mobil, a little energy. Energy's looking good. Energy has to maintain this trajectory because currently, right now, I mean, I'm actually looking at this like energy had to go like up a lot higher, even though it's been on a tear. It can't break down any because it needs to pull these averages up, right? If this is not going to cross and turn into a real bear, a sell signal, energy needs to go up, and this needs to, yeah. So I would look. I wouldn't touch energy right now just because when I look at Exxon Mobil after this long run up, and even after this long run up, it's still trying to repair the charts off of this sell off where all went negative back here. Um, it could easily just come down and find support down here. So energy is a tough call. I would that wouldn't be. I would be looking in a bear market, even though energy would go up in that environment. I would be looking to play short sides on bounces. It's just how I feel about that one. Twitter has came. It's filled that gap. It's found support. My target for Twitter was like around 34 or something. It could come up here to 40, but you don't want to buy it until about the 35. If you haven't bought here, if you bought here, great. You'll probably look to reduce some of your position here if you're in options, for a retrace of that bounce because it's not going to go in a straight line up from here. It'll go up, it'll bounce around, come up, bounce around again, and then, like I say, you shouldn't be looking for any like sustainable bullish activity at the earliest second half of this year, right? We could cover next energy. The daily chart doesn't have that much activity. You scroll down into smaller time frames, see what I could see. How far back do I have to go to get some? So it got a bullish crossover right there. This bullish crossover played out into like some accelerated activity. I couldn't buy it up here. Um, I would honestly want to buy it lower if I was going to get in it. But the moving averages, they don't look bad, right? I just, just the way I trade, I couldn't buy it up here. I would want to buy it closest to where the moving averages are consolidating, right? Because it could do whatever it wants up here and come straight back down because price always finds support on these moving averages. You have on a 15 minute, you got to cross. The highest I would buy it would be 384. I would look for a retrace of that bullishness right there, of that bullish activity. Though the moving averages look good on it. General Motors, it's a heavy hitter in the Dow, and it's breaking down. It's below some significant support. Um, that's about all I'm gonna cover right now. Just basically, if you take anything away from this video, um, the Nasdaq. Just watch the 12.6 area, 12.6K on the Nasdaq. That if you see it, short it. Buy you some put contracts on the QQQ, the 309s. You know, when when 309 gets in the money, buy you some puts, right? Because you could have some your account could explode at that point. Anyway, that's what I see in the markets. That's what I plan to be looking for during the next 5 days, the next trading week going ahead. Um, yeah, the dollar, it had, I'm looking for it to go ahead and peter out to down here. And when my alarms get hit, when this alarm hits, that's when I'll start paying attention. Looking at my chart every hour or so until it gets down here. And when it gets, close to here, that's where I'll be ready to pull a trigger on some puts. That's when the Nasdaq should be in this sweet spot right here, hopefully close to that blue line. That's where I'll be putting my puts on that. Right here where it is now, there's really no trade to be had, right? You'll get chopped up. The most you could do is just put on trades for every 30 minutes or so, and then your trading account, you'll have to wait for funds to settle until you could put on other trades. It's no sense in putting on a trade unless, you can make some substantial money on it. That being said, trade well, trade smart, trade on. ODK out.